William Shakespeare's Macbeth is famous for being so ambitious that he kills his king and takes the crown for himself. But this is only one view of Macbeth. In order to raise your mark to a grade 6 or above at GCSE, you should be looking at alternative interpretations to characters and themes. With that in mind, let's explore 5 different ways of looking at the character of Macbeth. 1. Macbeth, the brave soldier. Even before Macbeth appears on stage, we're told of his courage as a captain fighting for Scotland against the Norwegian army, and he's given the admiring epithet, Brave Macbeth. In the Jacobean era of political unrest, masculine strength and military skill were highly prized, and Macbeth is presented to the audience as a man to be admired. Yet, as well as being brave, he is brutal. We're told that when he reached the traitor, he unseamed him from the nave to the chaps. That is, he split him open from the stomach to the chin. Nasty, but we should remember that Shakespeare was writing in a much more violent time than we live in. 2. Macbeth, the man of ambition. Macbeth is famous for his naked ambition. He openly admits that his only motive to kill King Duncan is ambition. I have no spur but vaulting ambition that o'erleaps itself. The horse metaphor here shows his ambition to be incredibly powerful. Macbeth already knows that his ambition could lead to disaster, as it loses control and o'erleaps itself, yet he still chooses to murder his king. Shakespeare uses the Greek tragedy convention of a tragic and noble hero who has a fatal flaw or weakness, a hamartia, which leads to his downfall. Macbeth's weakness is his ambition. It does o'erleap itself, causing his disgrace and death. 3. Macbeth, a man controlled by the supernatural. You could argue that Macbeth is actually not to blame for the horrors that overtake Scotland. He's a man who is helpless against the power of the witches who play with him, much as puppet masters would manipulate a puppet. His opening words perhaps show how he is already under the witch's spell when he says, "So foul and fair a day I have not seen." These words remind us of the witches, an echo of their chant in Act 1, Scene 1, "Fair is foul, and foul is fair." It seems that they are already influencing Macbeth's words and will go on to influence his actions. 4. Macbeth, a man tortured with guilt. As soon as Macbeth kills the king, he is overcome with horrendous guilt, and this guilt stays with him throughout the play and ruins any enjoyment he might have had from his new power and position. This guilt is clearly seen in Act 2, Scene 2, where Macbeth agonises over murdering Duncan, stating that he's cursed himself when he reveals, "I could not say Amen." Being unable to say Amen shows that Macbeth has now placed himself outside God's blessing and love. His crime of regicide, killing a king, is so awful and so appalling that he's beyond God's comfort. At the time Shakespeare was writing, regicide was seen as an appalling crime because it was a crime against God. The Jacobeans believed in the divine right of kings, that God anointed or chose the monarch, and our contemporary audience would understand the sacrilegious nature of Macbeth's crime. The audience would also be horrified by his actions. The Gunpowder Plot, an attempt by Guy Fawkes to blow up the King and Parliament, had been foiled only 1 year before, and Macbeth's actions would have reminded the audience of this and the political uncertainty that followed. 5. Macbeth, the monster. By the end of Act 4, it is almost impossible to sympathise with Macbeth as he gives clear, cold instructions to murder Lady Macduff and her small children. His instructions are explicit. Give to the edge of the sword his wife, his babes. Ambition has stripped Macbeth of his humanity and left him more monster than man. His imperative verb, give, shows the cold-hearted sense of purpose, and the use of the noun babes, a symbol of childhood innocence and sweetness, shows he is fully aware of what he's doing and he doesn't care. Yet, at the end, as Macbeth is declared to be no more than a butcher, the audience does consider other interpretations of his character, and perhaps we, too, wonder what lengths we would go to fulfill our strongest ambitions. Macbeth is a complex character, open to many different interpretations, and exploring the text in this way is really going to help you score those extra marks in your English Literature GCSE exam. And you can get more tips about ways to boost your exam grades by following the links in the description below.